Hey y'all. So, yesterday I had a really bad day. And the reason why was my wife and I have had a pretty rough couple weeks. And she's not feeling good. So I had to do a lot around the house and work and take care of the kids and all that. And I was feeling very tired. And then um, the last 2 nights, what I said to myself was, really tired. I've done a lot, so I want to give myself a break. So I did what I enjoyed. I, ate some junk food and sugar and all that stuff and carbs. Um, and I stayed up late, like well past my bedtime. I usually sleep around 9 because I wake up very early and I like the quiet and alone time in the morning because I feel refreshed and all that. It's way better than the alone and quiet time that I get at night because at night you're already drained of your energy, and so it doesn't feel that great. So morning time, alone time is amazing for me. And so the previous 2 nights, I stayed up until like 1:30, and I wake up in the morning and I didn't really do a lot of my routine, so I don't feel as refreshed as I do any other day. And so the whole day I was, for 2 days, the whole day I was not feeling that great. Especially yesterday, I was not feeling that great at all. And I noticed my identity coming back and the thoughts spinning in my head, and my emotions were like, I don't really know how to describe it, but it was not, my body was not feeling good either. And so these thoughts keep spinning and my mind keeps getting clouded, and all the clarity that I had in previous days weren't there. And so I started having fear again. And the fear was, oh my God, what if I've lost that clarity? What if it was just all in my head and that I don't have it anymore? And then I was trying to search my mind, like, okay, where is it? I'm trying to go back to my notes and read it again and try to access that clarity again that I had. And I just couldn't. And I was getting more and more nervous, more and more fearful, like, oh man, what if I lost it? And so this is exactly why I want to have this conversation with you all at this time in my life, because I'm going through this process of, I guess some would call it realization, or self-actualization. And it's a process. It's not a switch, right? For some people, it like for some people it does act like a switch, and they never is able to go back, because the the event of that switch was so strong for them. Like for some people, they contemplate suicide, and then they have this switch, and then they're able to just have that mental clarity forever. But for many people, it's a process, like for me. And so I'm recognizing now that there will be times when my mind and body is not feeling good. And so my mind and body, well, my mind will be clouded, and I will not see or recognize that clarity that I had before. And that's when the identities will come back. That's when the identity, your identity or my identity, would come back and take control of my thoughts and my body. That sounds kind of spooky, but it's not. So let's talk about identity for a second. Everyone has multiple identities. For example, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a software engineer, I am a problem solver. That's my biggest identity. I'm a problem solver. And for each of these identity, there's something called an arena. And for your identity to come out, you have to be able to recognize that you're in the arena that needs that identity. For example, when I'm at work, the prevalent identity that comes out is, the software engineer or the problem solver in me. And within that, there's sub-identities as well that you can call it. And when I'm at home, I would be a father or a husband, depending on the situation, right? It's very situational too. And if you want to get very deep into the scientific side of this, follow John Vervaeke's work. I linked him in my channel. It gets really, really deep, so you have to have you have to be able to understand very, very abstract concepts. Otherwise, I don't know if you can follow him or not. It's hard for me to follow him as well. I have to really focus on his content to follow. So everyone have these identity, and you have attachments to these identities as well. Some more than others. I'm way more attached to my problem-solving identity above all. And these are the identities that can cause you negative emotions. It gives you positive emotions as well. But these are the ones that, when you're attached to them, you can have negative emotions come out of it. For example, let's say I'm attached to my identity as a father. Let's say I pride myself of being a great father. And then someone comes along and say, "You're a shit father. You suck at your job. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong." That's going to make me angry. Because that identity inside of me that thinks or knows that I'm a great father, I'm attached to that identity, right? That part in me will come out through me, through this body, through this mind, and say and defend that. Gets defensive, depending on how well you can regulate your mood, or if you're not good at regulating your mood, it'll come out as anger, right? Then you will defend yourself with anger. If you can regulate your mood, you will still become defensive, but you will be argumentative, and you will use logic to either shut them down or just defend yourself in whatever way that you can think of. If you are not attached to that identity, you won't care either way if you are good or bad. Because you will know that there's no such thing as good or bad. It just is what it is. If you're doing something wrong, you and your child will go down a different path. And you will experience different things. And if you do it right, you will go down again a different path, you and your child. And you will experience other things that would lead to many other things. It's just all different paths. There's no right or wrong. It just is what it is. Because what if you do the right thing and you go down a path and that path actually leads to your death? Then when if someone knows you really well and look at that, would they say it's a right or wrong path? No one knows. It just is what it is, right? That's life. You can do everything right and still end up in the path that is not good for you. That's just life. So these identities, when you get attached to them, that's how it works. The more you get attached to them, the more negativity can come out of them. Especially fear. For me, it's fear. Fear of loss. Because I grew up pretty much with nothing. I had so much of nothing that now that I have so much, and I had become attached to my identity, that I had a fear of losing it. Like it's a pretty big fear, and when I was able to detach myself and let go, fear and anxiety and stress just went away. But like I said, in the moments where my mind is cloudy, my body's not feeling good, it comes back. And today, yesterday I slept early. I was still not feeling so good. Today I woke up early, did all my routine, took my ice bath. Feeling good again. I'm feeling kind of shaky because I'm still kind of cold. My body's kind of recovering from the ice bath. But I'm feeling really good. My mind's clear again. I don't have any fear, any anxiety, any stress. I feel great. And the clarity came back. But now I know that when I'm not feeling good, that identity can come back. And there's multiple identities, like I said. I could detach myself to, my problem solver identity, and another one can take over as well. And here's the thing. I think a lot of you probably cannot recognize some of these identities that is driving your life. And it takes some awareness to do this. And this is why in the other video I recommend meditation. Because when you meditate, you're actually practicing awareness. Because when you're sitting there, right, with your eyes closed, and you're focused on your breathing, you just focus on your breathing, and then maybe a couple of seconds later your mind would drift. When your mind drifts, that's your mind pretty much just taking over, because um, your thoughts are sucking away your attention, and then you consciously, recognize that your your mind has your mind has sucked away your attention, and so you consciously bring it back to your breath. That's one repetition. If you allow me to use working out as an analogy, so you focus on your breath, your attention gets taken over by your thoughts, and then you consciously bring your attention back to your breath. That's equivalent to one repetition of you doing, let's say, curls. And the more you're able to do that, the more awareness you're building for yourself. And that's the awareness that will allow you to sort of have a third person view into what you're doing as you're doing it. Because you will more and more recognize what you're thinking about. Because a lot of times you're not really even recognizing a lot of the mental noise that's going on in your brain. And once you recognize all the things that you're saying to yourself or you're feeling about yourself, then you'll begin to see what this identity is. And when you're able to see this identity, then that's when you're able to separate yourself from this identity and be able to judge this identity that's driving your life. If you can't do that, then you're blinded from all of these identity that's driving you. Because again, from John Vervaeke's work, like I said, he's done some very extensive work into this. A lot of these things happen subconsciously. This identity and this arena concept and this what do you call this loop, this interaction that this interaction that the agent and the arena is having is very dynamic. And when you step into the arena, that identity comes out, and it's automatic. It happens beneath your consciousness. So if you are not aware of this dynamic, you're not going to be able to take a step back and observe that dynamic. And if you're not able to do that, you're pretty much sleepwalking. Like really, it's not even theoretical. You can see it for yourself. It's like let me give you another example. When you're driving down, if you've driven for a long time, have you driven down the highway and 10 minutes later you're like, oh shoot, I've been like driving on autopilot mode. I didn't even notice, and I didn't even realize what happened for 10 minutes. I was just driving on autopilot. Isn't that crazy? You're on the highway with all these cars going at high speed and you're driving on autopilot. Like, you could die if you make the wrong move, but no, you're not, because you've done it so much, and you're able to do this is because you have that, you've sort of fine-tuned that agent arena aspect of driving. You're the driver. The arena is the, car and the highway. You've done it so much, and you've become so good at it that you don't even need to think about it. Your your mind and your body wants things to be automatic because it takes a lot of work for your mind to actually um, be awake. It takes a lot of work to do that, and so the more your mind and body can automate, the the more energy you can save. Pretty much, your mind and body is very focused on exerting the least amount of energy possible. It's for survival. So that's what happens. And that's why you should start meditating. Otherwise, you'll do a lot of things that you're not going to um, you're you're gonna do a lot of things that you're not even aware of. And the more aware of what you're doing, the better it is for you, because you'll you'll live your life in a more conscious way. And the reason why that's good is because, like, think about the alternative here. When your identity is driving you, you will react subconsciously. And when you react subconsciously, you won't necessarily have all of the information that you need to react, because you only react with that one agent or identity that you're in that arena. You won't have access to all of the other information that you have, that if you were conscious and not driven your identity, then you would be able to recognize a lot more information that you would in that limited identity that you have, that you're trying to defend, let's say. You might actually recognize that the other person that is judging you is judging you based on their own identity. And then you'll see that it's pointless for one identity to argue with the other identity that's in them, because what's really the point? Like, maybe the other person is just trying to get you angry. It's like, if you can't get angry, then that's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. So, to be more conscious is to be more at peace with yourself. Like, that's the and with other people, really. That's the probably the biggest reason why you should try to live more consciously and try to disassociate yourself with this identity. There's nothing wrong with this identity. You need them. As human beings, you need them to survive. Otherwise, you won't be able to know how to work very well in the arena that you're in. But you have to recognize when to use it and when to not. And if you keep on letting these identity drive you, then you're going to have all these, you would have all these negative emotions when you get defensive or when you're not feeling well. And so, yeah, that's why you should learn to be more and more aware of yourself. I hope that was helpful.